Hey guys, good afternoon. Um, Today's going to be a good one. So, a lot of you are probably here for processes and procedures 1 year later, and we had to kind of postpone that because some of our presenters couldn't make it, and it doesn't make sense to only do like half of that webinar, right? So, as you see, I did convince BJ to come, and I think he'll be able to talk to us about some stuff. But we're going to make this more like one of the monthly roundtables. So I'm going to actually click the button here in a minute that's going to give everybody the opportunity to speak and turn on their webcams. And I just want this to be more of a conversation where we can all talk about how we do, what works for us, what's not working, ask questions, offer advice, whatever works for you. So hopefully that works for you guys. And now this can be a little bit more personalized to where, if there's something specific you want to learn, then we'll do that. So today, one of the guys that you see on the camera is obviously me, Steve Taylor, creator and host of MSP Webinars. The other gentleman to my left and or right and or top or bottom, depending on how your screen is configured. If you have your thing shrunk this way, anyway. So this is Mr. BJ Pote, and BJ owns eTop Technologies, I believe is the correct name of the company.
It's just technology. So
technology. So he only has one kind of technology, folks.
Yeah, one kind.
That's it.
And, I don't do very much. just do one thing.
And eTop, I love that name, man, because he literally took his last name and just said, let's reverse it. And it works. Like it sounds techy and like it has meaning, and it does have meaning, just not the kind that people are expecting. So
basically.
So last year, you came on and you were talking to us about your sales and marketing process.
Yes.
Well, I imagine something has changed. I mean, I know you've got one big change, and that is you hired a guy that some of us know.
That I did. So I ended up hiring Quentin Comer as my director of operations back in January. So,
and are you still happy with that decision? You can speak freely here. He's not here today.
I actually saw him pop on for a minute, which is funny to me.
He popped on, and then he was like, "Oh crap, my boss is here," and he popped right back
off. Fair enough. Shoot. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to be careful what I say. Now, no, it's been good. Probably the hardest thing for me has been learning how to let go and pass on responsibility and authority appropriately, and not put my fingers in where they don't belong. And it's not that they don't belong there. I mean, I own the company. I'll say do what I want, but if I'm setting an expectation of what somebody should be doing, then I need to make sure I'm following up on my half of the expectation. So
that's, I would say, is a very reasonable statement. All right. So that said, as director of operations, it sounds like you're focusing more on the big picture of the business, and he's focusing more on the day-to-day. Is that what you have a director of operations doing for you?
Effectively, yes. So probably the biggest role change for my company and myself over the last year, I guess, it's hard to believe it's been a year, is trying to actually learn what it's like to be the owner and CEO rather than a tech in the company that's trying to just keep everything running. There was a couple of months there where I really was having to redefine my role for myself. It's like, what do I do? How do I do it? What what are the next steps? Where are we going to take the company? That kind of thing. And so that was a big struggle. I was lacking direction for a little while, if you will. Now it's no.
That really stinks too when you have that feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was definitely a couple of weeks and months where it was just like I was trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. So yeah, it's been a really interesting year. So,
well, I mean, interesting sounds scary, but good scary.
It's been good scary. We ended up losing our biggest client this year due to they were growing extraordinarily fast, and so they ended up they've hired 3 to 4 people internally in their IT department to replace what we were doing for them with 4 people, which makes me laugh a little bit.
Because now they just brought on.
They basically hired my company again internally. Admittedly, having 4 people in-house, it gives them a lot more.
It gives them a lot more coverage in their eyes. In their eyes, they have more coverage, and that's the thing that really stinks is like, as an MSP, we typically, those idiots don't know what they're doing. But I mean, if you think about it, if they're an IT person, I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, do they know how to use all the tools that we use? Probably not, because I think a lot of IT guys
don't really need to. I mean, it's not that they don't need to, but at the end of the day, we're actually ahead of last year, not by huge margins. We're not, if everything stayed the exact same, we would beat last year, which, considering we lost our single biggest client at the time, was about 15% of our monthly recurring revenue. Wow. We are actually still ahead of last year, and our net margins are up substantially. So
higher margins and fewer headaches is what I just heard.
Substantially less headaches. They were 15-ish% of our revenue and about 50% of our workload. So
that's the worst, man.
But we come to find out, it's amazing how everything comes back down to expectations, and then like the roles and responsibilities. There were some pretty poorly managed expectations on both sides of the fence, really, which has led to me having more of the like full-time sales and full-time account management, where those become my roles. And until I just can't keep up and cope with it, and then we'll probably end up bringing in an account manager to help with an account manager / VCIO type person who can come in and help manage and scope and deal with, maintaining and setting expectations for clients.
So when you bring in that account manager, and obviously I know we're talking hypothetical someday type stuff, but I'm sure you're already thinking about, okay, when I bring in somebody new and they're in the sales / account management role, have you put thought into, are they here to help me maintain the relationship with my clients, so that way I can go out and continue selling because this is my company and I believe in what I do, and I'm the best person to sell it? Or are you going to have them sell so you can maintain the relationship, or are you just going to have them do all of it?
Honestly, it's probably going to be a bit of both. There's going to be a point, probably not in the too distant future, where I will not be able to personally maintain all the relationships for customers. So I honestly don't completely know what that looks like. But ideally, you would find somebody that had a good business technical mindset to hold that account manager / VCIO role, which I'm not completely sure which direction it will go.
And the only reason I ask is because right now I've got I used to be an employee hat on. Okay.
Sure.
And as an employee, I remember what it was like to be hired to do one thing. And then, I'm doing that thing. And then, 3 to 6 months later, I'm asked to take on another set of responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 to 6 months after that, and it just continues to pile and pile and pile and pile. And I think as a business owner, I like to get my money's worth.
Well, yes, don't get me wrong, that is for sure. But I've realized that a lot of times you're much more effective and you're much more likely to get your money's worth if you don't, as long as you have clear expectations and clear roles and responsibilities for that person, and you don't keep adding.
That's
good. Find the service that will take that load off. Find the, a lot of times it's a lot less expensive for me as an example today, it's like we're looking through resumes and we're having a conversation as a management team to does it make more sense for us to have a staffing agency, tell them, hey, here's what we're looking for. This is what we need. We want, 5 people that we can interview that fit these qualifications. Go. Is it worth $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 to save that time? Probably.
Yes, it really is, because with as much time as you're going to take going through and I don't know where you're posting.
Unfortunately, we put it on. We've done ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, Indeed. Kind of played with them all. LinkedIn was pretty solid. ZipRecruiter, we've gotten something like 500 resumes for a mid-level technical resource, and most of them. Oh, there's a lot to get. I mean, most of them are, customer service reps if you're lucky. And not that that's bad, and not that they couldn't fit maybe a tier 1 or a dispatch role, but a mid-level tech does not equal a customer service rep.
No, it does not. A mid-level tech should be able to do a lot of things on their own and
think on their feet. Yeah.
To somebody a lot smarter. So, yeah, I would say
the smarter person generally.
Well, they should be smart, very smart, and smarter than the L1, but a mid-level tech, I feel like you should still have a high-level tech above them somewhere.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
But yes, the mid-level should be the one doing 90% of the work, with the high-level being the one engineering and all that really fun stuff. So, all right, so you're thinking about bringing somebody on board, and I would wholeheartedly agree that when you bring somebody on board, it's probably going to just be easier to have a recruiter handle it. I'll say that, and I know he's in here now, Shiva. Now I think Shiva, all his people have been with him for 10 plus years.
Oh.
But every time he's hired somebody,
he's awesome.
What's up, Shiva? Well, no. What I was going to say though is he finds all his people on Craigslist.
That's hilarious to me. Apparently, I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to go hunt people on Craigslist.
The fact that he has found reliable, knowledgeable people, and that they've been with him for a decade, and he found them all on Craigslist.
It's pretty remarkable. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about that. All right, so for those of you that have popped in late, I'm joined right now by BJ and all of you, because I have hit the allowed to talk button on everybody. For some reason, I'll call you guys out. Chris and Jamie, it won't let me hit that button because it says you're using an older version of Zoom. I'm not sure if you're using an older version or if you're just in the WebRTC version, but that's why I didn't hit the button on you. I did, it just won't let me. So yeah, if anyone wants to chime in with anything, I mean, feel free.
Chris, apparently we can't let you talk. So, shoot. Yeah, any questions? I mean, and I'm more than I mean, I love learning from what other people are doing as well. So, I know you certainly don't have it all figured out.
Does anyone really have it all figured out?
No,
I mean,
for sure.
there's two types of people that have it all figured out. The ones that think they have it all figured out
For
and
sure.
have absolutely nothing figured out. And the ones that say they have it all figured out,
And
but
are wrong.
no, they
Yeah.
have nothing all figured out.
Right. Story of my life.
Right?
Every time I think I'm like, all right, this is going to be easy, and then it's not. So, I mean, kind of as a follow-up from last year, I mean, I know we talked about sales a decent bit. So we actually at this point find ourselves without a salesperson. Kind of in like retrospect, I've really begun to realize we didn't really set them up for success. And so it's amazing that people were as successful as they were. So I've been really reworking our sales process a lot, and I don't have it fully structured out even yet, but due to some of the changes we've made, it's like our pipeline is, I mean, I think we have about 350 seats in the pipeline right now. So I'm actually kind of scared that we're going to land them all. So my job now is to figure out how to streamline that and make it repeatable, and then hand it off to somebody else to start running it so we can keep adding on.
What about marketing? Are you what kind of marketing efforts are you doing these days?
We have we do email marketing pretty regularly. We've put a little bit of a hold on our YouTube marketing. Honestly, even with what we have there, we're doing pretty well with it. I can't say that we've generated a lot of like deals off of it, but we get a lot of traction on that YouTube channel. We have 1,500 plus subscribers on a little how-to technical like YouTube channel. It gives our website a lot more visibility. And so as a result of that, we've been getting a lot more calls, just a lot of calls off of that, to the tune of a couple a week. And a lot of them we end up passing off to somebody here who's local that does what they're asking for. We're not doing anything residential. We're not doing anything, like really under 10 users. So we're passing it off to somebody that would be a better fit for them. But we've also gotten a couple of really good calls off of that. So.
Well, good. Now, are you or anybody else going to like Chamber of Commerce events or a BNI group or anything like that?
I've been participating with my current BNI chapter for about 4 years. I'm actually considering not renewing this year, not because I don't like it, and not because I don't think there's still some value to it. I found like what I'm looking for is an average business. Most of them aren't doing. We have probably the most business to business group in the area, if not. It's one of the most business to business BNI chapters I've ever met. There's a lot of B2B, but there's also a lot of the B2C, mortgage and real estate and stuff that doesn't have any real benefit to me, which is fine. But
if only there could be like a BNI for technology. Like,
right.
And this probably sounds insane. Ryan wants to know if BNI worked out for you up until this point.
So we actually got our biggest client ever from there.
The one that fired you?
Yeah, the one that recently fired us. It was more of a mutual parting of ways. Sure. But at the same time, yes. So we ended up getting that one. I mean, I think it's something to the tune of about 500,000, and thank you for closed business over the last, 4 years. So yeah, I'd say it's been worth it.
Now, I was in BNI for 5 years, long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still bitter about it. Just so we're all
that seems to be how it is. You're either in BNI or bitter about it. I mean, that's usually how.
So here's why I'm bitter about it. So some of you guys may have heard the story where a year ago, a really close friend of ours got into a really bad car accident. Our friend was in one hospital almost dying.
Mm-hmm.
And one of her daughters was in a completely different hospital, almost dying. And so I was at the daughter's hospital every single day for like 2 or 3 weeks, just, being there for her. And my BNI chapter vice president kicked me out of the group for not attending, even though they all understood why I wasn't there. And even the president was not happy with that decision. The area director was not happy with that decision. But nobody overturned it. So F that guy.
It sounds like you should be better against a person and not the organization as a whole. But
well,
I mean,
the fact that nobody stepped up though, tells me that they really don't care, that they were happy that I paid them for 2 years of dues and got to use 6 months of it. And so, yeah, I'm just better.
I'm sorry about that. That's definitely no fun. So
no. So if anyone wants 18 months of BNI credits, I will sell it to you for like $12.
That's funny.
Wayne says sold. Now, Wayne, I gotta ask, man, you said you're in like 2 different groups.
Sure am.
What groups are you in?
Obviously Northwest Ohio. I'm in one group which I helped start, kind of. I was like member number 6, called Referrals to Riches. And then about 2 years ago, we joined in. I've been in that group for 6 years. And then about 2 years ago, we expanded. My wife / office manager is the named member in another group called Cobra. So my group meets Tuesday afternoons. Her group meets Thursday mornings. And like this morning, she was ill, so I subbed for the group. We both formed relationships with everyone in that group. So it's kind of like having a, 40-way member party. And both groups are diverse enough, we don't have a problem making the referrals. So, I'll also agree. My largest clients have come from BNI. It's probably maybe 1 a year at that.
Mm-hmm.
But my highest revenue and longest term clients have come from, shut the phone up here. Have come from BNI. So, I would definitely, I look at it as a tool, most definitely.
Yeah. And that's kind of the mindset that I've taken, where it's like, if I get 1 or 2 solid referrals out of BNI a year, I know it's probably going to be a $2,000 to $5,000 a month contract. That's worth a lot of time.
Yeah.
So, BNI is it's probably a $1,500 or so $100 a year commitment, which in the scheme of things is nothing. And probably the biggest thing that's been a pain for me is just the pure time commitment. I was on membership this year. Yay. And of course it happened to be the worst membership year in, I think, BNI history. It was just kind of drama central this year. So I'm definitely not participating in any leadership positions next year. So that should give me 50 hours back.
So I see some chat happening in right now. So just to clarify, yes, if you are in BNI, you're technically not allowed to be in other referral groups. So if you're in another referral group, basically BNI's way of thinking is, well, how do we know that you are going to be loyal to all the members in this chapter? My response to that is, well, that guy sucks. I don't want to refer anyone to him. Because let's face it, you have somebody in your chapter that you just don't want to refer to, whether you don't think they do good work or whatever. But BNI doesn't care. So, yeah.
I get it.
Keep that in mind.
I also, I don't know. For me, it's like I do my best to participate in just networking groups in general. But as long as they're not the, 1 person per chair structured referral networking, I think that's the only thing BNI cares about.
I'll concur with that. That's pretty much it. If it's the exclusivity, that's where they don't like that.
But at the end of the day, I'm in a mastermind group here locally, and the people that are starting that starting that company, they're working with teams to create it's a BNI, LATIP, whatever kind of type group that's B2B only, which honestly is extremely interesting to me. So I may end up checking that out as well, just because being in a B2B only networking group is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, that sounds very intriguing.
So I know that they're starting it in this area. So I think they've got 5 to 7 groups going right now. So I'm going to be learning a little bit more about that. I was going to put my salesperson in one of those groups until he imploded. So.
All right. I am pushing out a poll. BJ, you're welcome to vote in this as well. So with this poll, I'm just, curious where you guys are at today. I think here's a good question. So BJ, you're a ConnectWise shop, right?
Mm-hmm. Do
all of your leads from BNI or wherever go directly into ConnectWise? Do you go if it's not in ConnectWise, it never happened approach? Or are you like, whoa, I don't need all this clutter and nonsense in my ConnectWise. Let's not put it in there until...
I will usually give them a call, and then if they turn into a meeting, I'll put them into ConnectWise.
Okay.
So I'll be honest, again, I don't get that many referrals a year. I mean, I have probably 5 or 6 clients that are in the chapter, and that is also a decent stream of recurring revenue. And that's probably the biggest reason why I would stay. I mean, it's a decent chunk of monthly income.
Okay.
So if I get 1 or 2 a year, I'm pretty happy.
I mean, considering what we as MSPs charge for 1 or 2 MSP clients a year,
mm-hmm.
I mean, that more than makes up the dues.
Mm-hmm. Oh, easily.
So looking here, we've got of the people that voted, 40% are just one-man shops. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. We're not picking on you. Don't worry. And then 33% have between 6 and 9 employees. So I don't know if 33% of you are messing with me. All right, now we got more votes coming in. So now we've got 44% one-man shops. But so for the one-man shops, I'm curious how much of you that are a one-man shop, how many of you are doing something today to market your business, whether it is whether it's going to chamber events, BNI, LATIP, going on what is that, Meetup, I think it is, and finding networking groups around your area. I am sure there are a bunch of business networking groups and social mixers and whatever else that you can attend. Ralph says radio ads. I like that.
How do you find radio ads working for you? Nobody knows. I've actually wondered about that. I've thought about what. So we play around with like sponsoring like a lot of the local schools. So, I mean, a lot of it is just kind of fun, makes us feel better about being in the community kind of stuff. And if we get some name recognition out of it, great. So I'm not too worried about that part. But then we do, I mean, our email marketing that's where it's pretty structured. But I'm curious about the radio ads.
Ralph just started them, so
just started. Okay.
It sounds like he doesn't have any actual data on it. Ben says tried it once, failed.
How long did you try them for?
Now Ben's gonna. Here's where we're waiting.
I can talk.
There we go.
I probably paid around like $800. It's probably about half dozen spots, but wrong time of day, probably early in the morning when no one's listening anyway on a sports station. Probably not the best decision.
Fair enough. Okay.
I don't feel like there's really a good station for us.
I feel like advertising takes at least 6 months before you see any yield, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
Golf channel. Business owners play golf.
Is there a golf radio channel?
I was actually talking about TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because that's as affordable as radio.
There's also a lot of local stations. I have a colleague that was running stuff on, so they're like a health insurance agency. And so they do like group health. And they were running a fair amount of ads on like the local AM like conservative station for whatever reason, and they actually had pretty good results on that. And that means like that coverage is probably 300,000 people around their area.
So
idea.
You guys mentioned doing commercials. So I'm going to share a commercial of a local furniture place. And I say local, I mean like there's only one location and this guy does commercials.
I'm scared. Dude, he looks like the guy in our area that does carpets. Mars Carpets.
Sound?
No. Or
The quality
Gallagher.
on that's excellent.
Is that like slow motion or something?
No, it's not. This is...
Oh, man, it's like 70s or 80s.
No, it's recent. Like he still does these commercials today.
That's probably
It's absolutely ridiculous.
That's
And
probably how he's known.
It works so well for him because that's his thing. That's his gimmick. I don't think that's how he really is. Like if you went in there, because that's creepy, right? I wouldn't want to buy something from a creepy guy, but it gets people in the door. So when you're thinking about doing commercials, it doesn't hurt to think of a gimmick. So let's talk about marketing budget. It's really interesting. We have literally everything here from zero all the way up to more than $5,000 a month, which is fantastic. The fact that some of you guys are willing to spend the money. So let's talk about what you guys are doing for marketing. For those of you guys that are spending, like $1,000 or more on marketing, what are you doing? What is working? Has anyone tried using Carrie over at Managed Sales Pros?
We called her, and I didn't feel like spending that kind of money for the results that they may or may not promise.
It's expensive. I've spoken with quite a few people that have worked with her and are really, really happy with the results.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't feel like I just couldn't justify spending $7,000 a month on 1 to 3 appointments.
Right.
I mean, they'd better be freaking amazing appointments that I mean, the problem is I've looked at 3 or 4 different like cold calling services, and all of some of them were like, we'll promise you 5 appointments a month for $3,600 a month, a 13-month commit. Okay. I mean, it's about $800 an appointment. And I recognize that these are cold appointments, not referrals. But when I talked to Spanish Sales Pros, they said the same thing. The close is on you. Oh, I get that. But if I'm paying $2,000 to $3,000 an appointment, better be a dang good appointment. And I don't want a 10-seat deal for a $2,000 or $3,000 appointment.
I would agree with that. I wonder if part of their process is defining what type of companies you're looking for when it comes to revenue, employee numbers, that type of stuff.
Well, I can tell them that. That's not an issue.
Hire stockbrokers.
Yeah, actually, I was at a conference this last week, and one of the things that a couple of people said they found was that payroll reps make really good IT sales because they're used to having guns held to their head, and they're also used to having that business conversation. But I like the idea of a stockbroker. That's a great idea.
Now, are you talking about a literal gun held to their head?
No, not a literal gun, but those guys have to hit their quotas or they're fired, basically. So,
got it. Same with merchant services people too, for that matter.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just going off of what they said, and it made a lot of sense. So,
yeah,
I hadn't really thought about it. Yes,
the ones that do have a literal gun to their head are even better. Yes, very true.
Right. That's funny. Sorry, I'm running out of things to say. So if you have questions,
it's okay. So Zach, I want to ask you some questions about onboarding because I know you're one of the guys that has, I want to say, a better handle of your onboarding procedure.
Sure.
So how long does it take for you to onboard a customer?
Minimum 3 months.
Okay, is that just because you guys are like slow and lazy? What's going on here, man?
No,
it's a long time.
We are doing a deep dive into everything, like not just like figuring out what they have technology wise, but like understanding their business. Like some clients, I've actually shadowed them for like a week and multiple people in multiple departments. I want to know what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it. If I don't know that, how can I make it better?
So it's okay. So do you break your onboarding down into phases? Like phase 1, install all my crap so it works. Phase 2, deep dive into their business, make it better.
Right. Yeah. It's broken into 3 to 6 or 7 phases, depending on vertical, size, and like there's like a decision trees where it's like, okay, if we discover this, then this phase gets added, so on and so forth.
So how long until your stuff is all implemented and running?
Like as far as rip and replace network, RMM, backups, that's usually done in the first couple of weeks.
Okay. So after the first couple of weeks, it's more just getting to know them.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, that's cool. Usually we're taking support calls by the first 30 days.
Okay.
Now, like mean time to resolution and things like that are lower because we don't understand everything yet. So things take longer to figure out. But as the onboarding progresses, it gets faster, better, less tickets, so on and so forth.
BJ, how about you? How quickly are you like up and running, regardless of how long the full onboarding takes? How long before you've ripped and replaced, installed the RMM, backups, all that stuff that you're including in the MSA?
Typical onboarding is around the 3-month mark. Usually it's a couple weeks, sometimes faster. I mean, getting RMMs deployed isn't exactly super complicated. I mean, we can knock that out pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, the RMM, you just put it on the server and let it do a discovery and deploy, and you're done.
Yeah, basically. So, I mean, that part isn't super complicated, but there's a lot of, collecting the right information, and I mean, it's the continued discovery. I mean, you do as good of a job up front as you possibly can before you sign on the dotted line. But I mean, it's yeah, you start unwinding things and figuring out what's going on.
And so, I mean, my onboarding track is so long that things change as we're going through. So like we'll find all kinds of crap that needs to be replaced. So, a bunch of things got documented, then we replaced them. Now they need to be redocumented. And
right.
BJ understands his struggle.
I think our onboarding project has about 45 tickets in it. And probably the first 15 of them are totally like administrative BS. I mean, make sure they're set up appropriately inside of ConnectWise, make sure we have all their users set up and documented. I mean, half the time, by the time we get done with the onboarding, they've changed 3 users. So we have to go delete and I mean, so the answer is a lot of times, like Zach said, we're supporting them within the first week or 2.
Okay.
But
so now you said onboarding project.
Mm-hmm.
As a ConnectWise user, you're using a project. Why aren't you using a track for onboarding?
Because it's a project. You can use tracks in addition with projects, but it's a project.
Okay. I guess my understanding was you would use a track for onboarding because then it's doing all this extra fancy stuff. Like the track would be sending out. The track
might build out a project, but you're going to have a project that the work gets done inside of. And I'm not saying that it's not something we couldn't improve on dramatically, but.
Okay. My understanding is a track will help you with more automation. Like is a project going to send out an email, like a welcome email to your customer?
Use them in combination.
Yeah, usually. Listen to the man. He knows what he's talking about.
The CRM side of onboarding. They're for the customer relationship side. Projects are for the actual operational side of onboarding a customer.
Got it. So, okay.
So you can do both. You can use tracks or you can use tickets. You can use a ticket that sends out a pre-formatted email, things like that. But tracks are to track a customer through that transition. A project is for the actual work and necessary steps to be done to onboard the customer.
Sold. Now all I need is
use them together. You'd use them in conjunction. Yes.
You do.
For the second time.
Yeah, ConnectWise. It's the 7-year implementation plan.
Third. Then you should know better than anybody.
Should.
Leave that alone.
Thanks.
No, it's all good, man.
All right. So some of you said, I have no idea on how long it takes for you to do a client onboarding. I feel like that's a dangerous answer because if you literally have no idea, then that means you have no idea about a lot. Because when you're doing client onboarding, there's labor involved and everything else. And if you don't know how much labor you're doing, you don't know what your profitability is for that client versus that client's onboarding fee and all kinds of other stuff. So I strongly encourage you to start building out onboarding documentation. Shameless plug, I have a starter document in the members area of MSP webinars. Yeah, Shiva.
How many people are using cookie cutter onboarding or cookie cutter onboarding as best as they can? Because let's face it, if you have a structure, your IP subnets, the hardware you use, it's rinse and repeat and should be easier and take less time up until a certain point. I mean, obviously you're going to plateau on how much time you can save, but
right.
It's like the Formula One pit stop, basically. Keep doing it, you can shave seconds off, and it will help you in the long run. I guess how many are doing that, or how many are?
So let me answer your question with another question. Does everyone hop in immediately with the onboarding to standardize their client's equipment? Or do you work with what they have until they can afford to put in your equipment?
Well, shouldn't
rip and replace?
Rip and replace.
Immediately?
At least,
at
least core stuff.
We also provide the firewall switches, basically network infrastructure.
As a service.
It's part of our dollar value every month. So I don't care if they just had 10 new Meraki switches put in yesterday. If I'm going in with Datto, I'm going in with Datto. If I'm going with Meraki, I'm going with Meraki. It doesn't matter.
So, BJ, do you guys include the networking equipment and BDR in your MSA?
So the networking at this point is just something we roll into an onboarding project. The BDR, yes.
Do you require them to have your networking equipment?
We do now, yes.
Okay. Same for you, Zach. Do you include your networking equipment? Because I know your per user price is like $7,000 or something.
I'm doing something wrong. Zach, show me the way.
Yes, I require them to have my networking equipment.
Okay.
And it's
yeah, so Zach, I think, is like $212 a user on average or something like that. But I think he's also doing. He's offering a lot more than many of us are. I'm not going to say he's doing a lot more than BJ because I just don't know that. But I would say that generically he's doing a lot more than many of us are.
I have a question for Zach.
Sure, Errol.
Do you?
No, he doesn't use Intune.
Not yet, at least. Do you lose what presumably looks like a perfect client because all they see is pricing and they don't come with you?
Oh yeah, it's happened.
Can I have them?
Maybe.
You probably don't want them, to be perfectly honest. Honestly, that means I haven't done a good job of selling value.
That's true.
I
But
think
sometimes,
The second piece of that is have so many people in your pipeline that it doesn't matter.
Oh, right. Of course.
I do think that the just sell fully managed way, at least for me, isn't the end all be all. I created a lesser stack that basically strips out Office 365 and end user support. I call it a security stack, and it's been quite profitable for me. I mean, it's usually applied to companies that already have in-house IT, so it's more co-managed. But some people just have that price resistance and they don't want to go there. And why leave the money on the table if it is in fact good money?
That's probably 90% margin.
Well, no, realistically, it's about, for me, just on tool, not labor, it's 78% margin.
That's good.
On the full-blown managed services or the security stack?
I have
the
something
security stack.
similar that's a kind of what we call our essentials plan, where it's all the software and the support is billable, but it's like everything, and it's like 97 a seat.
Yeah, I mean, where you make money on that is having the proper time increments of how you bill for billable events. I mean, you give them included support for the tool set, but anything above and beyond that, we specifically carve out Office 365. But we're billing you remotely at a 30-minute increment. On site, it's a 2-hour minimum at 30-minute increments thereafter. And I know a lot of the MSP communities like go fully managed or go home, blah, blah, blah. And I've only been doing this for a year, but the virtue of me tracking everything Connect-wise, I had a list of people that were price adverse. And when I went back and offered them a $100 stack versus my $160 in those days, I got pretty good acceptance. And
right.
you're talking about,
I think
you're talking about automated money.
The key is like if you really can't close the all you can eat, then bring up the lower tier stack as a kind of a throwaway. It's just like, oh, okay, well you can't take it. Well, here's this, take it or leave it.
Actually, the lower tier is never even offered initially.
Yep,
it's
exactly.
Maybe a month or two after the fact. Say, hey, listen, we've been thinking about it. We have this we can offer you.
Oh, definitely.
It's never like, okay, you don't want to play ball with fully managed, then all right, here's my half stack.
Just more than one.
See, I agree with Shiva to a degree, but not completely. I offer them the basic entry. All right. And most of the time, that's what they do. They go with a basic entry, and as soon as they start seeing their monthly expenses rack up in a hurry, because they're tasking us to do work for them, and their billables are minimums here and minimums there. They go, hey, how much more would it be for us to go managed, 100% managed? Oh, it's less. Let's do that instead.
Yep.
And that is advantageous. I mean, that's
like, why not do both? Because the way we do it is we don't offer the initial offering, the cheap plan, quote unquote. We pitch fully managed. If they push back and like aren't taking it, then we fall back to the cheap plan, which is offered, down the line. And then once they onboard into that, then, 6 months later, we'll circle back around and say, hey, look, if you'd have gone fully managed, your bill would have been this much less. Would you like to upgrade? And then generally they do.
See, here's the thing. The only reason I wouldn't offer the upgrade is because my half stack is far more profitable than my fully managed stack.
That's true. That could be an element of it.
But profitability versus actual, dollars in the door.
Well, no, it's dollars in the door and profitability because we're billing out at $200 an hour with 30-minute increments. So you spend 5 minutes on the phone with us, you're getting billed for 30 minutes, so $100.
All right, so let's talk about the actual service delivery here for a little bit.
What's that?
I just collect paychecks. I don't know what you guys are doing.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what I worry about.
Delivery
sometimes.
Service?
Money.
How about that?
Yeah, I worry about that from time to time.
I worked out a deal with ConnectWise. I don't actually have LabTech. I just have an IIS server.
The IIS server would still be faster.
Barely at that.
All right, so how many of you guys are using SLAs today in your PSA?
I am.
More or less.
Now, for those of you that have answered, I don't need a PSA. Uh-oh, I'm getting an echo from someone.
Somebody said they don't need a PSA.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Somebody said they don't need an SLA. Somebody said they don't need an SLA for their company. For that one at least person that doesn't need an SLA. How could you not need an SLA? And Shiva, that's an excellent question. How do you improve? So if you're using a PSA, which you should be, in my opinion, there's plenty of options out there. You should be measuring how quickly it takes for you to respond initially to somebody opening a ticket. Next, you should be tracking how long it takes for you to resolve the issue in the ticket. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to be like publishing these results or sharing them with your clients or whatever.
Well, why not?
But
Clients get it, and if I fall under a certain amount, they get a statement credit on the next bill.
And if that's how you want to operate, then that means you're at that next level, right? But for the people that
holding my own feet to the fire.
Right, but for the people that don't think they need an SLA, I'm simply saying that you should at least have an SLA built out in your PSA so that way you can have an understanding of, am I actually doing a good job?
Well, it's more than that. I guarantee you that if you're not offering an SLA, your competition is, and they're going to use that as a means of differentiating themselves from you.
Not a lot of MSPs are actually built to A, compete, or B, retain clientele.
I would say that again, because I feel like I don't agree, but I want to make sure I understand I'm agreeing to the right thing or not.
It's the barrier to entry to become an MSP is so low. A dog can probably become a successful MSP.
Successful, I disagree.
Successful is you have clients and you're making money. I mean, that's what success is, right? It's not whether you have 1,000 endpoints. It's if you're making a lot more money than you want to need. And I mean, at least that's the way I look at it.
Okay, but, okay. And
a lot of these guys aren't set up to run a business. They're just self-employed. So they can't sustain growth. They can't grow with their clientele. And part of the SLA thing is if they're not doing SLAs, they will get left behind eventually.
So, we're not going to name names because this isn't me throwing anyone under the bus, okay? But I'm going to talk about a specific scenario where I went over a margin calculator with someone, and we determined that their profit was like way too low. Were they profitable? Yes. But I want to say the profit was in like the 10 to 30% range. So does that mean they're
That's charity?
Right. So does that mean they're successful?
I mean, listen, if your bills are $100 a month and you're bringing in $500, I think you're successful. Yes.
Okay. Now, with that said, I do just want to say that, you know, the person that I sat down with, they're making changes now that they understand what their profitability is. But I think, I guess I have a higher bar that I've set for what I determine success. Because I feel like, go ahead.
So my sunk cost per month, per node, is $7.40, I believe. So that's sunk cost. That's things I'm going to have no matter what. My variable cost, which is how much time each node is taking on average, billed out on my client side, or to my techs, is somewhere in the $30 per node per month average. Okay, so that leaves me with, let's call it a $40 cost per node on average. I'm billing $200 a month per node. That's ample room, at least in my eyes, in my world, for profitability. Now, I could say that 50 would be enough, because the determination as to what's enough is on me as a business owner. It isn't on you. It isn't you as a consultant. It's on me. So if I decide that I'd rather make $300 a month per node, so that I increase my profitability by $100 per node, that's on me, man. Profitability, like Shiva said, is making more money than you expend after it's all said and done.
And what I was going to say is my definition of success is different. I'm not saying that your profitability has to be a certain percent, but my definition of success is understanding what your profitability is and understanding if it's actually enough. That would be my definition of success. So you absolutely knowing what your costs are, and you even know the different types of costs, Mr. Biz. So
that's why I'm in biz.
What was that?
That's why I am in biz.
That's why he's a VSD.
You know, if you don't know how to run your business, then your business is running your ass, not the other way around.
Yes. So I noticed that the one area that 63% of the people here wish they could do better is sales. Nobody wants to do onboarding better.
That's because we as IT people are inherently introverted. Most of us are anyhow, right? I'm an extrovert, which is kind of rare in our world.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine Shiva is as well.
Same here.
So the extroverts are going to do better in sales than the introverts, but the problem is that the majority of the IT field is owned by introverts, which is fine.
It's true.
And of course, sales requires a degree of extroversion. You have to, whether you're comfortable with it or not, you have to get out of your comfort zone so that you can make money. if you're not able to get out of that comfort zone, then you don't belong in the business ownership world, because no matter what you do, you will be required to do that.
Yep.
So if you could say that there are 3 things that you do every single time that you think help you land a sale, or are more likely to land a sale, what would those 3 things be?
I gather deep intelligence in my clientele, or my prospective clientele.
Flash stalking.
Exactly. That's what it amounts to. I stalk my potential clientele. I'm just getting back from stalking a potential client, and I'm going to meet with them next week, and I'm going to close that sale next week, and it'll be the first time I meet with them. Meanwhile, I've conducted a deep assessment of what they are, how they operate for the last 3 weeks. So when I go in, I know more about them than they know about them. That's number 1. Number two, part of that is gathering knowledge as to where their pain points are. Everybody has pain points. You can say you're the happiest, good-luckiest person on planet Earth, and I guarantee you have pain points that if I am willing to take on and solve for you so that they're no longer your pain points, I stand a much higher chance of getting your business than anybody else. Part of that deep surveillance, part of that deep knowledge is figuring out what their pain points are. So when I go to that meeting next week, I will go in already knowing their pain points and ready to talk about them. All right? Number 3, you have to be personable. You can't go into a place expecting to talk to the owner or the decision maker and not be able to get along with them one way or another. So part of that deep surveillance in step number 1 is figuring out what Joe Schmo, who is the decision maker, does. Joe Schmo left work today and he went to the golf course. Joe Schmo went to the golf course and he spent an hour driving balls at the driving range so that his game would get better.
What's the driver?
He's using a Callaway.
No, I'm just saying, but I mean, that's the detail you got to look to. Figure out his driver. Figure out what he can use that's better.
Exactly, right? So when I go into that meeting next week, I'm not only personable, I already know what he looks like. I know what he dresses like. I'm going to emulate his dress. I'm going to be ready for that meeting. I know that he's into golf. So when the topic of golf inevitably comes up, I will fess up that I don't play golf because I suck at it. All right. However, I know enough about golf to be able to talk golf terms and business terms at the same time and make him make that sale, make him close the sale for me. So get intelligence on your prospective client, find out their pain points, be ready to address them right away, be personal.
Okay, so I've got some
expand on what Carlos said. Is my take on that, and what I do is basically you never ask a question unless you know the answer before they even open their mouth.
That's like lawyer 101.
Yep. That's why they do as well as they do.
To even expand, but on a much quicker scale, I have found being an extrovert business owner and a tech helps gain big interest in a small amount of time. For an example, at a chamber event, somebody would say, you're the computer guy at our chamber. You know, our guy has this problem, and I can just drop the knowledge of the fix and how I can make lives better instantly. So a salesman with deep knowledge of what you're doing is always good. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I call a company and you get the salesperson, but I have technical questions. You want to get to the sales and technical person all at once, and that's what we can deliver.
Which is easy for, the 1 or 2 man show, because typically they're both technical people.
Correct. I'm not sure. I mean, I have 2 employees, but if I had 8 or 10 employees, I feel like that's I might keep those roles. I don't know.
Fair enough. So I have some follow-up questions. Stalk your clients. That is a scary step number one. Can you elaborate on like how, like, okay, are you actually like going to the business and just like being a creeper in the parking lot waiting for the person to like leave and then following behind them like any scary movie you've ever watched? Like how stalking are you getting?
Not only switch vehicles. I rented a vehicle last week. I rented 3 different vehicles last week so that I wouldn't be figured out as to, hey, that car's been sitting in the parking lot for 3 days in a row.
Carlos sorts through their garbage.
I haven't gone to the point of sorting through their garbage, but the fact is, I know the decision maker by sight. I know his name.
So
I know that he's married. I know that he's got 3 kids. I know he's got 3 grandchildren. I know what MRP they're using. I know we're falling short by talking to the employees at the lunch counter. So, you know, you see an employee leave for lunch and you follow him to the local diner and you sit down next to him. Hey, man, you start talking shop. Yeah, you know, I'm having the same problem with mine. What's yours? They tell you. Employees are way too willing to tell you the deep, dark, nasty secrets of their company. If you're making conversation.
Okay, so Carlos literally is like expert level 99 stalker.
Yeah, but I'm also going to gain a 200 node client next week. It's all over, but they're crying. They don't even know that they're going to sign the contract and they're going.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I'm just making sure everybody understands like the level of commitment that you are truly willing to go to.
Hey,
do the math. Do the math. 200 nodes, $200 a piece. You do the math, and then tell me it's not worth it.
hey,
Oh, I'm not saying it's not worth it.
3 or 4
I am
weeks
not
of work.
arguing.
aren't you afraid that employee's going to see you and say, hey, aren't you that stalker guy from the diner?
So
Soccer guy. I'm like that guy that had a conversation with him about whatever, right? Oh yeah, you know, it just happenstance that I'm taking care of the IT at your business now.
Yeah.
and if you really sign that client and you really get them to sign at 200 a node based on your fixed and variable costs that you already know, I'm rounding, but that's $32,000 profit every month.
That's worth stalking.
I'll stock them for $32,000 a month.
I'll
There ain't
stock
nothing
whoever
wrong with-
you want for $32,000 a month. Oh man. So I gotta say, this was good, guys. What other? I mean, do we have any other questions?
And by the way,
I have a question.
when you go for that onboarding, bring donuts, bring coffee. First impressions matter. Don't bring donuts to the diabetic, for the love of God.
What do you bring the diabetic?
Bagels or something of the like. Something that does not have built-in sugar that's going to spike their insulin.
So you're not saying avoid carbs. You're just saying avoid overly sugary foods.
Yeah, because diabetics eat bagels and whatever too, right? It's just that if I take my accounting office client where half the population in there is diabetics, and I bring them 3 dozen donuts of Krispies, right? They're gonna eat them, and then they're gonna hate me for it. I don't want them to hate me ever.
Right. Now let me tell you, 3,000 dozen Krispies, man. That's what I used to call a Tuesday.
3 dozen Krispies. 3 dozen Krispies.
Yeah. 3 dozen Krispies. That's what I used to call a Tuesday.
Well, you know, now you call it just Tuesday morning, right?
No, Now I'm diabetic. Oh, don't be like me, kids. All right, so what else, guys? You guys got any other wonderful nuggets when it comes to sales? What so Carlos will go rent cars that look nothing like his. He probably wears like a sunglasses and baseball cap nonsense, and literally stalks people and follows them into diners and talks to them, and I think there's a term for that.
Creepy.
Yeah. That is definitely like manipulation at its finest.
Creepy. It's not manipulation.
Why is it that some companies have great IT?
Creepy.
I don't know, Wayne. Why is it?
I don't know.
That's why he's watching the video, guys.
I'm watching the video. That's why I'm here. And an ad popped up from another website. I apologize.
It's okay. He's cheating on us, guys. Get the
That sounded like Oz from the
I'm
IT crowd.
multitasking.
get the pitchforks and torches. This is unacceptable. All right, so sales, that's good. Carlos, you doing anything revolutionary for marketing or?
Yes, I'm making my clients so happy that they have no problem recommending me to other people.
Okay. That's the best type of marketing you can do, by the way. So for those of you that want to get practically free marketing, just make really happy clients, man. Make your clients so happy they want to refer you to other people. Now what about service delivery, Carlos? You doing anything revolutionary there other than, answering the phone when they call and responding to emails when they send them?
Well, yeah, our monitoring will open up tickets automatically for us and close them automatically for us when things happen, right? So if you tune your RMM right,
Makes sense.
you get their invoice and they get their detail list of all the tickets. They don't have to see any detail on it. They just have to see that you noticed that this process was eating up a lot of CPU time, and you went ahead and took care of it. Oh, shit, you do that? You don't remember to do that for me, okay? But they don't need to know that. All they know is that I noticed it.
Yep. That's exactly it too. Don't let them realize that your software is doing all your work, because then they'll think that you aren't worth it.
If I'm doing things right, my software does 99% of my work for me.
Yep.
Leaves room for more skydiving.
Absolutely.
Which there's always more room for skydiving. All right, so let's take service delivery to the completely opposite direction for a second. I want to hear about when, like a horror story of service delivery. When do you have a client that just doesn't get it? They don't understand how your service delivery works, and they try and like cut in line or reach out to you in ways they shouldn't. How do you address that?
I
know, Carlos, you can be pretty brutal, man.
For the most part, I ignore it. If you call my real cell phone number and you get my voicemail tells you that this is my voicemail. And if you want to talk business, my business phone number is X. Call that number. And any business matter left on this voicemail is going to be deleted. I don't care. I am not replying to it.
Good for you. Now, have you ever had a case where you've got a crazy client that just keeps calling and calling and calling because they think that their issue is the most urgent thing in the world.
Every
Sure,
client.
every client does that at some point in time or another. You just ignore it. Yes, I got your voicemail. Every time you call me again, I'll add an extra half hour to the service delivery time. I don't care.
Now, but if you're adding a half hour to the service delivery time, you're not actually billing them for that, are you? Since they're managed services, right?
Yeah, they're all, you know, the people that do this are all the all-you-can-eats. And I send an initial reply to the email. That's my beginning of SLA. You sent me a ticket or left me a voicemail that opened the ticket automatically, and I replied to it. Hey, you're in the queue. I have so much work to do ahead of you. I'll get to you. You keep calling. I'm just going to keep them tacking a half hour onto it. So you call me 4 times in a row after that, you just earned yourself 2 hours.
So Brett said he got a text at 1:15 in the morning. The text said, "Help," all capital letters with 4 exclamation points after. And the issue is QuickBooks is slow. Now, did they actually? How did you learn QuickBooks is slow? Did you have to like call them or text back, or you had no idea until the next day when you woke up because you're not dumb enough to have your ringer on while you're sleeping? Like,
Say D&D works wonders.
there you go, Brett. Brett said he explained it the following morning when I decided to care. Good for you, man. And I say good for you. Like, I don't want you guys to think I'm endorsing like bad customer service or anything like that. But what I am saying is, it's not bad customer service when, you know, if I want to call and speak with somebody at McDonald's, and I want to call and complain about going through the drive-through and whatever happened, I'm not going to call the store. I'm going to call the corporate number, right? I'm not going to Facebook message the store. I'm going to call the corporate number. Any other way of reaching out is stupid. And that's what our clients sometimes don't realize.
Hey, do not disturb works wonders. I've woken up to several missed calls, several missed text messages, to which I say, I just don't care. Call the main number.
There you go. Brett said his client has boundary issues. We make up for it with what we charge him. I like it. So that's a really good point. It's always good. So, you know, you've got your price, your regular price. You know, if you charge $100 a user, $200 a node, whatever your price is, that's good. But, you know, if you're going to go and talk to an extra obnoxious potential client and you realize, you know, they're not worth it, the money's not worth it to deal with these people, figure out what money is worth it and charge them accordingly. I call that the pain in the ass multiplier.
Tax. It's pain in the ass tax multiplier, right?
There you go. All right, guys, it is 2:20. I'm going to say let's wrap up. If anyone else has any other questions, I'm sure many of us will be in the Zoom room, which if you are a member of MSP Webinars, you are welcome to join the Zoom room anytime, any day. And
what if I'm a non-member? How can I join the Zoom room to get a taste of the action, just to see if the juice is worth the squeeze?
It was just like this, but for hours and hours, and maybe more fun.
Unless you're somebody in particular.
I might even surprise you with blasts from my speakers.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, Wayne. Let's do it. All right, guys. Seriously, if you like the format of what we were doing today, where it's just a conversation, that's what the Zoom room's like. So be a member, join the Zoom room. get access to a bunch of other cool stuff that only members get access to. You all have yourselves a great day. I will see you on, let's see, what do I have going on next week? Why don't I ever know these things? I should really work on that. Next week, August 28th, Nerdio. Nerdio, I'm really excited about, okay? So this is like automation for dummies with Azure. And then on Thursday the 30th, we're going to have an update from Enviro Soft. Enviro Soft was on last year, and they showed off their end user app that you can install on smartphones, endpoints. It's neat. They've made some big changes, so we'll see what they've got to say. Take care, everybody. See you around.